aspirants, looking at current affairs for 23rd Jan. The news items that have been picked up from the Hindu are these 8. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, Tamil Nadu CM fails to convince protesters to die in Jallikattu. So we have already seen that ordinance has been promulgated by the Tamil Nadu government, and this ordinance is allowing Jallikattu to be conducted. But protesters are still not convinced. They do not want an ordinance. They want a law to be put into effect, because an ordinance is temporary. It is alive as long as the legislation is not in session. So legislative body means assembly. Legislative assembly at the state level in Tamil Nadu is presently not in session. That is why promulgation of an ordinance is possible. So between two sessions of the legislature, there are 6 months time frame. So presently there is not even 6 months. In a few days the legislation would be called. So after the legislation has come into session, then there is 3 weeks time frame. So within 3 weeks, if the legislature rejects the ordinance, ordinance dies. If it accepts the ordinance, it's fine. If it does nothing, still after 3 weeks the ordinance lapses. Only if the legislature, the legislative assembly in this case, wants to extend this, whatever has been done through the ordinance, as a law, and it passes such a law, then this would be given the full effect. So presently the protesters are saying that we need a law, we don't want just an ordinance. Though the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister is assuring that the assembly will pass the law, the protesters are still not satisfied. On the other hand, Jallikattu, since through an ordinance it has been allowed to conduct, it has been conducted, and it has resulted in an incident in which 2 people, one bull tamer and a spectator, lost their lives. They were killed by the bull, plus 129 spectators were injured. So this is the grave situation with respect to Jallikattu being put into, accepted as a sport on cultural grounds. Then the next news item is 39 killed, over 50 injured as Hirakhand Express derails. So this Hirakhand Express, which was bound for Bhubaneswar from Jagdalpur, it derailed, and this has resulted in 39 passengers dying and 50 being injured. So we have seen many such cases, instances of derailment. So this becomes important from that perspective. National Disaster Response Force teams have been sent to the site. They will look into the cause for the derailment, which is suspected to be rail fracture at few places. So this will be diagnosed. Plus, the other news item clearly highlights that derailment rise but safety reports gather dust. So this is with respect to the November 2016 derailment, Indore-Rajendra Nagar Express derailment, which was the Patna bound train. This has been suspected to be involving terrorists as such, terrorist hand in this incident. So this angle is also being probed by the National Investigation Agency. Also, Commission on Railway Safety is yet to submit its preliminary finding report. So what was the cause for this derailment? Still it has not been put out in the public domain. So this Commission on Railway Safety is under the administrative control of Civil Aviation Ministry. So this is, though this preliminary report has not been submitted, another derailment has already taken place. So there is a need to put things in place to ensure that such incidents do not take place in the future. The causes are either it be technical or it be due to human error. So technical aspect, the infrastructure aspect, is basically because of the fault in the railway track or the rolling stock, the coaches, etc. So these are the 2 major causes, and these derailments are rising presently since last year. So in December till December 2016, 68 derailments took place, which were highest in 7 years now. So there is a need to probe in the causes. So there is a total failure with respect to maintenance. As such, safety standards have to be maintained on the tracks as well. There is a need to ideally renew tracks annually. So there is a target of 4,500 kilometer tracks to be renewed out of total 1,14,907 kilometer rail tracks in the country. But then even the target is only 2,700 kilometer set up by the Indian Railways. So it is much less than the desired. Also, human error, it is seen that 70% of rail accidents in 2015-16 occurred due to fault of railway staff, such as poor maintenance, non-adherence to safety rules, or adopting shortcuts. So these are the causes. You can see number of derailments and number of casualties due to these derailments over the years. The next news item is Indian model to predict impact of climate change. So this is Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology from Pune, which will unveil its model in December 2017. So this is a computerized model to forecast the impact of climate change on Indian monsoon till 2100. So this is the first time that an Indian institute or India would be submitting its homegrown assessment to IPCC. IPCC is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So this is a body convened by United Nations which gives its reports on the climate change and its impact. So this body itself does not generate reports. It collates reports from various publications globally by scientists. So Indian contribution will be coming for the first time now. So this has, the IITM has put forth this climate forecast system version 2. So this is a model which has been initiated and it will be completed and put into effect soon. So there is a need to simulate land and ocean temperatures that existed in pre-industrial revolution times. So that is before 1850s. So in that time, what were the land and ocean temperatures? That has to be simulated, and then the droughts and floods in those years since 1850s till the present time also have to be captured. So then only the model would become viable. Means we'll be able to give the correct result. Then about the IITM, you should know it is headquartered in Pune and it is the body which gives weather forecast as well, and presently it's under Ministry of Earth Science. Also the India's fastest supercomputer Aditya is under IITM in Pune. So this is regarding that. And IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it's a UN body established in 1988 jointly by WMO and UNEP, World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Programme. So this provides its reports that support UNFCCC. So UNFCCC is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, under which various international treaties like Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement have been effected. So this IPCC makes its contribution reports available to them. So then another point which is very important is IPCC does not carry out its own original research, nor does it do work of monitoring climate or related phenomena itself. It bases its assessment on the published literature. So this is important. And then it gives its recommendations in its reports. In 2007, it had won the Nobel Peace Prize along with Al Gore, the US Secretary to then. So this is about IPCC. The next news item is after protests, Trump wages war against media. So Donald Trump has given his scathing remarks on the media on Twitter too. So he has been critical of the media after the media compared his inauguration ceremony with those of Barack Obama during his first and second term. So it is said that there were much less number of people during the swearing in ceremony of the new president as compared then, and plus also on the second day the same place was filled with protesters who were claiming that Trump is not my president. So such protests are taking place all across in USA too, even across the globe. Women are protesting against Trump presidency. So this is the backlash which Trump is then putting on the media. Then also some protesters are claiming that we don't want no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. So KKK is Ku Klux Klan. So this is an organization in United States which has seen three histories as such. So this is a anti-Catholic organization, anti-Semitism, means Semitism with respect to Jews, so anti-Jews, anti-Catholics, and it is promoting white nationalism. It is called asserting its supremacy. So as such, so it's a reactionary organization, a right-wing organization. It even uses terrorism, physical assault, murder against people or groups who oppose them. So they had, Ku Klux Klan group had supported Trump during his presidency race. So this is there. The protests against Donald Trump are quite large. So this is said to be the biggest protests in the country's history. The biggest one so far earlier had been 1982 anti-nuclear march. Before that, it had been the 1969 anti-Vietnam War protests. So these anti-Trump protests are the biggest in the history of USA now. So this Ku Klux Klan, the three stages of its evolution. First, Ku Klux Klan came in late 1860s, asserting white supremacy. And then into 1915, opposing the Catholics and Jews, when it was seen that many immigrants, mostly from Catholic nations in Europe, are coming and residing in, settling down in USA. And the third wave of Ku Klux Klan from 1950s, it is opposing the civil rights movements. So this is there regarding Donald Trump. So he has already removed the pages on gay. So gay rights have also been already LGBT as such. The LGBT rights page from the White House website has already been removed. He has also talked against human rights organizations, plus also the Obamacare medical healthcare facility, which has been initiated by Barack Obama, the former president. Many changes have been made to it. That was the first thing which he signed after coming to presidency too. So these are the initiatives now taken by Donald Trump. The next news item is curbs on outsourcing may hit US economy, NASSCOM. So another promise which US President Donald Trump had made was Buy American, Hire American policy. So this was part of his inaugural speech too. So there are indications that protectionist measures would be brought in, which would affect the Indian IT industry, which is well established in USA. So it hires Americans, yes it does, but number of skilled Americans is quite low as compared to the requirements, because the workforce, STEM workforce, means skilled workforce in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. So STEM, this college graduates in this is quite less than the requirement of the IT industry, plus the number of jobs which will be generated for these STEM graduates too, many of them are foreigners, so foreign nationals. So then how Americans can be hired in such a scenario is questionable. So this delegation of NASSCOM will go forward and put this in front of the US administration to make it clear to them that how the Indian IT industry, which is a contributor to the US economy, it's a huge taxpayer as well, which would be adversely affecting even its functioning in the country, plus USA would also be affected because of its suffering. So this has to be clarified. So it is said that they have created 4 lakh jobs in USA, including 1,50,000 direct employment positions. So this has been its contribution. Also already they have been discriminated against because this 50-50 rule was imposed in 2015. So this has been that the cost of visa has increased in 2016. So this was a higher cost of visa, which is applicable to only 50-50 companies. Means these 50-50 companies was this, that if a company is hiring more than 50 US employees, then to get any additional work visa, if more than 50% of their workforce is made of H1B or L1 visa holders, then they will not be allowed. Means a large organization, 50 US employees means a sufficiently large organization. If it wants more than 50% of them to be foreign nationals, then it will not be allowed. US workforce should also proportionately increase is what they are trying to achieve. So this 50-50 rule generally is for the Indian IT companies, specifically targeting them. Means even here discrimination is such that if the company, IT company from USA is hiring under H1B visa Indians or any foreigner, then it is allowed. But an Indian IT company hiring would not be allowed. So this is highly discriminatory, which is also highlighted. Plus they say that Indian IT companies overall account for only 15% of H1B visas issued. So that is also there. Then about NASSCOM, you should know it's a trade organization comprising of Indian IT and business process outsourcing industries. It was established in 1988 as a society, non-profit organization registered under Indian Societies Act of 1860. Then it has representations, membership from all over the globe, from various countries, various companies, and it facilitates business and trade in software and services. And It also encourages research in software technology. The next news item is no snooze button on a cat who wants breakfast. So this is with respect to BSE. Bombay Stock Exchange is on the path of becoming the first publicly listed stock exchange in India. So NSE, National Stock Exchange, which came into existence only in 1994, has always been a step ahead of BSE. But this time it is the BSE, which is the oldest stock exchange in Asia, which will be becoming a publicly listed stock exchange of India, the first one to be so. So NSE is also having such plans. BSE has already initiated. Means what is an initial public offering is that shares would be issued even for the stock exchange. So stock exchange is a body, a profit making body, and there are owners of this stock exchange. So they have their shares. So these shares will be publicly listed now. So many of the share owners have also the partners in BSE have exited as well. So there are examples of this Singapore organization, Singapore Exchange, which has exited. These are the participants in the BSE. They have exited, but then many have retained their stake also, plus many new entities would join in as well. So that is there. So this BSE initial public offering will be issued. So BSE is a profit making stock exchange, and it would get diversification in its funding from this public offering. So it has the comparison between BSE and NSE is made. So it says that equity derivatives is one segment where BSE is lagged behind and NSE has taken a step forward. So equity derivatives means derivatives. We have already discussed this, that equity means something like shares only, stock shares. So derivative based. So derivative based means an equity, a share, but which is priced as per the price of a derivative. It's derived from something. Say for example gold. So whatever be the price of gold will be the price of the equity. So those are called equity derivatives. So that is there, in which it is lagging behind, and NSE has grabbed a lion's share. But then another prominent thing which had come in news recently with respect to the Vibrant Gujarat Summit too was the GIFT City. So in GIFT City, a wholly owned subsidiary of BSE, which is India International Exchange, was inaugurated. This will function 22 hours a day, 5 days a week. So this is also a step ahead for BSE. So then another thing which you should know about are restrictions on ownership of exchanges, stock exchanges in India. So only few categories of investors are allowed to hold up to 15% in an exchange. And many of them have to have maximum, they can have only 5%, 5% of holding in a stock exchange. So this is there. But then there are relaxation for these norms in the GIFT City in Gujarat. So that is another advantage which BSE would have, where it is having its India International Exchange located. So this is regarding the IPO. So first IPO of Indian Stock Exchange. It's the world's largest stock exchange. World's largest stock exchange in terms of number of companies listed. 10th largest in terms of market capitalization. This is regarding BSE. But then NSE is more stronger and more robust. BSE lags in equity and derivatives. The valuation of NSE is much higher than BSE. And BSE legacy issues have left it with a long list of suspended companies. The last news item is Ugandans invent smart jacket to diagnose pneumonia quickly. So a team of Ugandan engineers have invented this smart jacket, so that can diagnose pneumonia much faster than a doctor also. So how is this taking place? This is called Mama Ope Kit, Mama's Hope Kit. So there was this one incident in which a person's grandmother fell ill and died before she could be diagnosed properly with pneumonia. So quick diagnosis is quite important. Plus even in such African countries, we see number of children who die because of pneumonia. So specifically in the developing countries, the number of deaths are quite high. So such kits, Mama's Hope Kits, Mother's Hope Kits, are very much required. So what is this? Is a biomedical smart jacket and a mobile phone application, so which can be connected through Bluetooth. So pneumonia is a lung infection. So it kills around 24,000 Ugandan children under 5 years of age quite often. It's generally misdiagnosed as malaria, but it's pneumonia and the child dies because of lack of treatment for that. So there is a need for some diagnostic kit for this, because laboratory testing infrastructure is not in place in these poor communities. So this jacket is to be put on by the child, and the sensors in it will pick up the sound patterns from the lung. Temperature is seen, the breathing rate is seen, and this information is processed on a mobile app, and via Bluetooth this information can be sent to the person, and this comparison is decide whether how much chances are there of the disease to be present. So this is there. There are also talks of patenting this. There will be a patenting done on this too. It will be shortlisted for even the 2017 Royal Academy of Engineering Africa Prize. So this is there. Of course, this is still at a prototype stage. It will be further improvised and put in the market globally by the inventors. So according to UNICEF, there are 9 lakh annual deaths of children under 5 years due to pneumonia in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So of course, this will be much more beneficial in such cases. So this is Mother's Hope kit, which is seen here. So these are the news items. Thank you.